Have you ever felt like you're just hitting a wall trying to learn something new? You've watched all the videos, you totally get the theory, but when you actually try to do it, you just keep sliding back into your old habits? Well, it turns out the real fight isn't about learning new stuff. It's about getting rid of the old.
So what's going on there? Why is it so incredibly tough to make a new skill stick, even when it all makes sense in your head? You might think, oh, I just need more practice, or I just need more time. But the real reason is something way deeper, something we almost never talk about. Okay, so let's get right to it. The real bottleneck that's holding you back, it's not the learning part, it's the unlearning part. And this one idea, this process, is what trips up almost everyone. But it's also the secret to getting good at new things way, way faster. So what in the world is unlearning? Well, think of it as the active, conscious effort of overwriting an old automatic habit in your brain. It's kind of like rewriting computer code. You're not just deleting an old file, you are intentionally replacing it line by line with a brand new, better program.
And this is a super important distinction to make. As you can see here, unlearning is not, I repeat, not the same as forgetting. Forgetting is passive. It's just your brain cleaning house, letting go of stuff you don't use anymore. Unlearning? That's an active battle. It takes real, focused effort to tear down an old mental highway and build a new one in its place. To really get why unlearning is such a beast, we need to take a quick look inside the brain at two systems that are basically in a constant tug of war. First up, meet your prefrontal cortex, or PFC for short. Let's call this part the conscious learner. This is the sophisticated, problem-solving CEO of your brain. It's the part that does all the heavy lifting when you're learning something new. It analyzes, it strategizes, it figures things out. Then, you've got its rival, the basal ganglia. This is your brain's habit autopilot. It's like the factory floor that just runs all your ingrained habits automatically. You don't even have to think about it. It's all about one thing, efficiency. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Look at this contrast. Your PFC, the smart part, is slow, deliberate, and it burns a ton of energy. Your basal ganglia, the autopilot, is lightning fast, automatic, and barely uses any energy at all. So, what do you think your brain, an organ obsessed with saving energy, is going to prefer? Yep, the autopilot, every single time. So this whole setup in our brains creates what we can call the unlearning trap. Your old habits have a serious home field advantage for two major reasons. Problem number one is pretty simple. Your conscious brain gets exhausted. Your autopilot doesn't. Trying to use your PFC to constantly police your automatic habits is like having one tired security guard trying to manage 1,000 factory workers. Sooner or later, that guard's gonna get tired, and the factory goes right back to business as usual. And this chart just shows you how huge that energy gap is. I mean, look at that. Your conscious PFC is just guzzling fuel while the automatic basal ganglia is barely sipping it. This is exactly why, after an hour of trying to practice a new technique, you get tired and you slip right back into your old ways, sometimes without even noticing. But wait, it actually gets worse. The second problem is that your brain's reward system is literally wired to the old habit. So when you use that old, maybe inefficient method, you get a little hit of dopamine. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel productive, even if you're not actually getting better. It's an unproductive double whammy. The bad habit is easier to do, and it feels more rewarding. Crazy, right? I know that sounds a little bleak, but this is not a losing battle, so let's talk about how to fight back. Let's walk through a 5-step framework for actually effectively unlearning those stubborn old habits. We're going to cover how to recalibrate that sneaky reward system, how to really identify the habit you're fighting, how to create a pattern interrupt, why you need to reflect after you practice, and finally, how to use a cool technique called constraint drilling. First up, and this might be the most important step of all, you have to recalibrate your rewards. There's a concept in psychology called extinction. Basically, you have to consciously stop rewarding the bad habit. You need to reframe what success feels like. That easy, comfortable feeling you get from the old habit, you have to start seeing that not as progress, but as a warning sign. You gotta starve that old habit of its reward. Next, you need to get specific, like really specific. What is the exact trigger that sets off the old habit? And what's the automatic thing that happens right after? You need to become a detective. And I mean literally write it down. You can't defeat an enemy you can't see, so make it explicit. Step 3 is all about creating a pattern interrupt. And you can do this with a super simple script. If X happens, then I will do Y. By preloading your new action, you take all the decision-making pressure off your tired PFC in the moment. For example,
If I find myself passively rereading a page, then I will immediately stop and try to explain it out loud. This makes it so much easier to actually do the new thing. After each time you practice, you gotta take a moment to reflect. Just ask yourself 2 simple questions. First, okay, how did my old habit sneak in today? This just makes you better at spotting its tricks. And second, how did the new method actually make things better? This is how you start to build a new reward system around the better habit. You're proving to your brain that the new way works. And finally, step 5, use constraint drilling. This idea comes straight from sports science. Instead of trying to practice the entire skill for an hour and just burning yourself out, you identify your single biggest bottleneck, the one little thing holding you back the most, and you spend just 10 or 15 minutes drilling only that one micro skill. This lets you use your PFC's limited energy like a laser beam, right where it counts. So the huge takeaway here is this. You've got to shift your focus. Stop thinking only about learning and start thinking about actively unlearning. When you do that, you stop fighting a battle you can't win, and you start systematically dismantling the very thing that's holding you back. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? If you don't get good at unlearning, you're making your life so much harder than it needs to be. You're trying to climb higher, but you're dragging all your old baggage right along with you. So as we wrap this up, I want you to really think about this for a second. What's your boulder? What's the one old habit, the one outdated belief that's holding you back right now? What is the boulder you are ready to finally unchain so you can really start to climb?